Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this week's episode of Talk Exchange. Today is a little bit different format because you have an interview with myself, Brad Augustyniak, with the Applo Multimedia Group here in Toledo, Ohio, talking with Kristie all about the use of multimedia and technology to help further the mission of your own individual exchange clubs. It's a great conversation. It's a lot of fun. It's a little bit off the cuff, and we hope you enjoy it. Hope you can learn something from today's show, but hopefully it does not prevent you from returning to the show again next week. Thanks for listening.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Talk Exchange. My name is Kristie Lindau. I'm the Director of Communications, and I have an extra special gift for you today. We're going to be speaking with the sound engineer. Brad, you can tell us what your official title is, of our Talk Exchange podcast, Brad Augustyniak.
Hello, everyone.
Big round of applause.
Yeah, right. Yeah, there you go. Right. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, sound engineer might be a little too complimentary. I'm not sure what the right word would be.
Well, you make us sound great.
Right. So. Well, I try. Yeah, podcaster, a multimedia content producer is, probably too complicated, but that's, whatever you want to call it.
Jack of all trades.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Right.
Well, thanks for sitting in with us today, Brad, instead of just, sitting behind the keyboard. You've been sitting in with us now for a year. We've been doing these Talk Exchange podcasts for a year, and we're missing Tracy today, I know, but we do know that after a year, you've learned a lot about Exchange and our clubs and the diversity of our members and just so much. We wanted to give you an opportunity to share what you know about the world of, social media, video content, multimedia, like you said, and if you have any suggestions for how our clubs and members can use that.
Absolutely. Yeah, it has been honestly so much fun to, like you said, kind of sit back and just, watch you guys with your guests and talk. And I've learned a lot about the organization and how it functions. And it really is amazing. And I keep saying I'm going to either start my own club or join one, and I just need to find the time to do it. But no, it really is a great organization. It's so funny to me because part of the fun of it for me is that we'll have guests on, and I don't always know who they are before they come on, or I'll know their name, but I might not know what they do.
Right.
And then they'll come on, and it's amazing to be like, "You do that? Wow!" And that's amazing. That happens a lot.
It does. We have a lot of humble members. They'll sit down. Oftentimes Tracy and I walk into the studio. You're already set up with the guests. You're getting them, on the stream, and they're just simple, normal people. You sit down and have a great conversation with them, and then the podcast gets started, and you're like, where did someone as amazing as you come from?
Right, exactly. Yeah, I had no idea. I mean, you're there in a jeans and a T-shirt, and you've done so many great, wonderful, impactful things in your life and with Exchange and so on and so forth. And yeah, it is. I think you're right. It's very humbling to sort of, see how they are and how they act, and they just want to give back. And
yes,
and so many of them have had a very successful career, and this is just their way to give back, and it's amazing. It's fun.
Yeah, good way of putting it.
But no, I have learned a lot. And I've had the opportunity now to kind of see what makes certain clubs more successful than others, or maybe a little bit more impactful, just based on some of the interviews that we've had. And I mean, I can't remember any one club that hasn't been great, but there are certain ones that stand out. And I think it's important to kind of call out what has made those clubs stand out a little bit more. And I think, part of it is definitely the clubs and the members that are very engaging. The guests that we've had on that haven't really been very engaging or haven't been, as animated as some of the other ones, that's okay. But I feel like the ones who have been a little bit more excited and really have a story to tell, those are the ones that you think, wow, this person is really interesting. And I can tell that they really care about what they're doing. And it may not always seem that way from the onset of what maybe we describe of what they're doing.
Right.
But then once they start talking, that passion really comes through in their voice, and you think, wow, I think that is such a cool thing. I really want to help them, or what can I do to help? It makes you wonder.
Yeah, I agree. It's a characteristic. It's a personality characteristic of these people. So the people you're talking about who are so engaged and so engaging, they're the ones who bring it all full circle. They're the ones who understand how your church life, your home life, your work life, your exchange life, your Sunday trivia life, how it all connects.
Yes.
They're the ones who get it.
I think that's the best way to explain that because, you're exactly right. And it always amazes me when I hear some of these guests that will say, I brought my kids to the exchange function, or we did this, this event and my kids loved it and my kids were there. And then as their kids get older, sometimes their kids become exchange members. Yes. And that's the most impactful part, I think, for me, is when their kids are a part of it and they bring them into that and they show them what it means to volunteer and they show them, by example, what it means to be part of your community and to give back. I mean, that's amazing to me.
It is amazing.
I don't know how they do it, some of them, but I really don't. More power to them.
And so many of our members, it seems like when they retire, their momentum picks up.
Yes, it does. I've seen that.
Really the opposite of what my parents have done.
Right. I understand. Yes, exactly. No, it's amazing though. It really is cool to see these people who are so passionate for what they do. And the humbleness, I think, is the other most impactful thing that I see is just some of these people. I mean, I could go on and name several of them right now where I just thought, wow,
I know.
I've used your product. It's amazing.
I've had those tater tots.
Right? Yes, I drink that coffee. It's like, I can't even believe you owned that company.
I know. It's awesome.
It's so cool to see that. I love that. Yeah.
That's great.
I always tell my wife like that. Sometimes we'll have these shows and I'll say, you're not going to believe who I met today. It's like, it's just never
every day's a surprise.
It is. It really is. Yeah. It's so much fun.
So Brad, we talk about, these clubs and the great things they're doing. Obviously the energy of the members is huge, but we also talk about, social media a lot. And if I look back on just, 4, 5, 6 years ago in this organization, we were still trying to teach people the importance of social media. Then we moved on to this is how you do it, the implementation. But now it's not even a question in the discussion. It's almost the whole focus of a discussion about how to market your club, how to promote your events. Social media is huge. So what can our members do that they're likely not already doing?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of different things. I think number one, and this is true obviously of social media, but just embracing technology, I think is really, really important because we're in an age now where you just can't avoid it. You know? And I understand a lot of people don't like technology or they're maybe somewhat apprehensive of technology, maybe a little afraid for lack of a better word. And I understand that. I really do. Yeah. But it's here. It's not going anywhere. It's here to stay. And if you don't learn how to adapt and use that technology, whatever it might be, then you're just not going to be as successful or as impactful as other organizations will be. It's just a fact of life and we're all living in it, and it's just how you use it. Facebook is a good example of, you can sit there and you can scroll and look through all of the different posts that people make, and there's a lot of issues that people have doing that because it can be very depressing and to some people, or it can be very rewarding. It depends on what you're doing, but it's not so much about scrolling. It's about using it as a platform to communicate with what you're doing. If people want to hear from you, well, then they're going to be happy to see that post about some, project or an event that you put on, probably more than they will be about what you had for breakfast today.
You're right.
And that's where I think that connection and that powerful piece comes from.
Yeah, you've touched on something, Brad, because before we started recording, you and I were talking about how as social media continues to grow and become a bigger part of our world, there's also a need to dial back on that a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah, so I've talked to you about how I've somewhat sorted certain topics out of my feeds that I don't want to see anymore, just to bring me peace.
Yes.
But what that does mean is that what I'm looking at has to be highly relevant and targeted to me. Otherwise, I'm zooming right on by. I'm already showing a dismissiveness.
Yes.
Right? So when our clubs are targeting their audience, they really need to be mindful about what they're putting out.
Yes, you have to think about your audience, who's looking at that. And then also, too, you have to think, in any sort of content production, why are you putting it out there?
Right.
What's the message that you want to deliver with whatever it is that you're producing?
Correct.
And that's what we try to tell people, whether, we're a content producer company, a multimedia company. So whether they're using our podcasting or our mobile apps, or we're doing a video for someone, we always tell them the same thing. It doesn't matter. It has to be relevant. It has to be something that people want to hear about. And why should they listen to you? What's that message that you're bringing with whatever content that is? And so social media is no different.
No, yeah, you're exactly right. You've been along on this journey with us as well. We've launched pretty much all new technology over the last year. It's been a big undertaking. It's been fun. And it's given us an opportunity to solidify our identity a little more because we're doing all of the platforms at once.
Yep.
So what it's also done has given us an opportunity to look at how our users are coming to us, right? So back in the 90s, maybe even the early 2000s, the message was what we wanted to deliver, what we wanted them to listen to. And when we developed all these new technologies, I guess my whole point is we had to pivot because now it's about what do they want from us. So we have to think about not the story we want to tell, but the information that they're looking for. Right. It's a huge shift in the marketing mindset.
Yes, it is. It really is. And that's why we, I know you pull a lot of people on, like, say, the podcast. What do you want to hear about? What's important to you?
Right.
And that's where it comes from. Yeah, that content is huge because it's something that whatever media you're producing, it has to be something that they want to hear from. If it's something that they just don't care about, well, then they're not going to listen to it. And then what's the point?
Right. And if your message is hidden below a bunch of fluff, if it's buried, fluff is not good anymore.
No.
I know we were all taught to write, 1,000-page essays in high school.
Yes.
But now we want it, succinct. We want the point to be delivered quickly and effectively.
And that's very important. That's a great point because today's world with technology, one of the, I guess, unfortunate side effects is that it does decrease our attention span. And it's not just kids. We always talk about kids with attention spans, but it's adults too.
Sure.
We want information and we want it quickly and easily digestible. And that's what we want to receive. And, our phones are obviously a good example of that. So whatever message you're trying to put out there should be something that is very much to the point, very succinct. Like in our podcast, for example, we'll sometimes take out the stuff that maybe we didn't think was even relevant. And, it doesn't happen real often, but it does happen.
It does happen.
We'll think, what, this is not even relevant.
Right.
We'll just take that out because we don't want people to be disinterested from what we're talking about. It might detract from the overall message.
Right.
And so that's very, very important in today's world. You have to be very targeted, very, to the point because attention spans are short and all they're going to do is just go find another show somewhere else.
Right.
If it's not if it's not engaging or if it's not what they want to hear, they'll go and download one of the other 1,000 shows that they follow.
Yeah,
for sure.
Absolutely. You're completely right. And we've had Olivia, we call her Liv, our social media specialist, and she's talked a lot to people about how we should be less wordy and more visual.
Yes.
So I'll go ahead and let you explain that a little bit more to people because it's key.
Yes. No, it is very, very key. So you definitely want to try to, obviously with a podcast, it's mostly, audio, right?
Sure.
And of course we have our video content piece of that as well. But yes, it is mostly, our podcast is a little bit different just because of the fact that, yes, it's delivered, it's a different medium and people are going to listen to it in an easier way, whether they're at the gym or going for a walk or driving home, doesn't matter. But no, as far as other pieces of media, yes, you definitely want to be a little bit more visual and impactful from that perspective. And a lot of times when you're doing that, like with, say, a video or even social media posts, you want your content to tell a story.
Okay.
If you can do that. Sometimes it's not always easy to do, but you always want to try to produce that story, in some way so that people can kind of follow it and they can understand who you are and what you're doing or understand the message and why that message is being put out there.
Right. And all of the videos combined, too, can tell your whole story.
They can.
And so really that's what you need to think about, too, when you're putting that out. Is this going to make sense when someone looks at it in the context of everything else?
Exactly. And then also, too, I'm always a big proponent of making it at least somewhat entertaining.
Sure.
Make it fun to watch. People are going to tune out if it's some boring video.
Yeah.
Because, again, we get so much information. We have so many feeds and so much content coming at us all the time with video, with audio, with ads, with, social media posts, with everything, where if that content isn't at least somewhat engaging, somewhat entertaining, they're going to get lost and they're just going to move on to something else. It's very, very easy to just click on to the next topic or the next video or the next reel or whatever it might be. So yes, Liv is exactly on point with that to where, yes, let's make it visually appealing, visually something that you want to look at. And that's important for clubs to do because a club might think, oh, well, yeah, this photograph of all these people at this event, oh, we love that because we know all these people. But most people who are going to be watching that, maybe from other clubs, aren't going to know probably most of those people. What they want to see is, oh, let's look at the recipient and how happy that recipient was that got that award or got that grant or whatever it was.
Exactly.
And that's what's impactful right there is to show the emotion on that person's face.
And you've hit on something there, the emotion on the face. You know what doesn't show emotion, Brad? My journalism professor, I'll never forget, her name was Melissa, could not stand the pictures with the large checks where everybody's just plastered up against a wall holding the large check and smiling. No content. Everybody looks the same.
They do. That's a good point.
But that's something she put out there. What is the emotion behind it? Why is this important?
Yes.
It's important because it's going to make an impact. So your photo needs to tell that story as well.
Exactly. Yes. Storytelling is huge. Any good marketer will tell you that storytelling is so important in today's world, especially, again, because you have to keep that audience engaged.
Right.
Whoever it is, it doesn't matter who it is. You have to keep them engaged.
Right.
And if you don't, you're going to lose them and they're just going to go on to the next, feed or the next photo or the next whatever. So that's extremely important. Yeah, we really try. We try to do that too in a lot of our videos. We'll try to tell a story, and it doesn't have to be a super long video. It could be 10 seconds. It could be a social media reel. It could be anything, but try to tell some sort of a story, but make those images something that people have some sort of emotional tie to.
Right.
It may not be every frame or every picture, but most of it should be some sort of emotional connection to the audience.
Yeah, we don't need a whole page full of mugshot looking.
No, nobody wants to see
that. And if you do, it's time to go out and refresh in your Facebook page.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, and you know what, Brett? And I also say there's no shame in hopping on a trend, right? We just released the Taylor Swift quote unquote Eras tour, our version for Exchange.
Love it.
There's always been challenges out and about. What do we talk about? Like the water bucket challenge, ice bucket challenge. Was that what it was?
Yes, it was.
There's been a lot of challenges out there to help raise money for different nonprofits.
Yes.
I'm not going to name any of those right now, but so I think, following trends and what else is going on social media, you don't have to invent something that becomes big. Just use it. Utilize it to help your club grow and get some visual.
And there's no shame. I mean, some people say, oh, you're just on the trends. Well, yeah, you need to be because that's what people are following. And it may not be relevant in 2 months, but it doesn't matter. You're still using it and people will still remember that thing, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And I think that all goes back to, like I said several times earlier, having fun with it. Just have a good time with it. Like that ice bucket challenge. I remember when my kids did that years ago, and we just watched a video of that just a few days ago, and it was so funny. And it's not a trend anymore, but it was funny. We remembered it.
Yes.
It was impactful. And it was fun to watch, and you remember that, and you remember where you were, you remember what you were doing, and and so it's the same thing when you're trying to promote your club. I mean, just jump on those trends, and people will think fondly of that in the future.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, show your humanity.
Exactly. You're a person.
Yes. Show them who they're getting involved with potentially.
Yeah.
That's something that Tracy is very big on at the headquarters. She's accessible. Any member can get a hold of her at any time.
That's amazing.
So she might not answer her phone, but you're not going to get stopped from leaving her a voicemail. Her email address is published. And we want our clubs to do the same thing. We want them to show the humanity. We want them to show that we're not an organization. We're a group of people brought together by common causes.
Yes. No, that's huge. And I think that does show through in a lot of the things that you do. And just having even just the side conversations that I've had with you and Tracy and Liv. And,
I can't wait for those outtakes.
Oh, those will be
We're
fun.
going to do an outtake reel.
We are. Those are going to be a lot of fun. Yes. But yeah, I mean, but those things I can just, tell that you obviously all of you, really truly do care about the organization and really do care about what is put out there, and you care about the people, and you want everything to be good and impactful. And like I said, I think that shows through in the work that you do. As an outsider, I can definitely say that I've seen that. No, I mean, yeah, for sure. I mean, it's just, and sometimes we've had to re-record shows because we just didn't think the message was right, for whatever reason, and then that's good. That's what you want.
I think
you want to have that. You don't ever want it to be good enough. So
I mean, we don't strive for perfection.
No, you can't.
We don't ask
you can't.
That's unrealistic.
No.
But what we strive for is efficiency, effectiveness. And we want to be thorough with everything we do.
Yes.
So it makes me happy when you say that you can tell that that's how we work, because hopefully that sets an example for how we want our clubs to be leading out in the communities.
For sure. No, I think so too. And I think it shows, I hope it shows in the podcast, where, you're laughing with a guest, you're having fun with a guest, or you're asking really good questions.
Yeah.
I think that comes through in the show, and it shows in your voice inflections and things that you really do care about those people, and you really do care about what they're doing. It's not just like, oh, gotta do another show. It's, you guys always show up into the studio and you're like, hey, how you doing? This is going to be great. Let's go.
Let's rock it.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's why we have those funny outtakes, because we're having fun.
Yes, absolutely.
It's not a dry, boring process. It's a lot of fun, and it should be.
Yes.
So.
And that's, you're right. I mean, you take the whole conversation, everything we've just talked about. That's really what it is, Brad. It's showing people who you are. Yeah. Genuinely, who
100%.
you are.
Yeah. No, there's nothing fake happening at the National Exchange Club.
But people want to join that. They want to be around genuine individuals who are trying to make a positive impact. Mm-hmm. And if that's truly who you are as a person, you're going to attract the right people.
Yeah, you are 100%. And I think it's hard for probably, it's easy for us because we're here in Toledo, but for other people in other clubs around the country, obviously they don't see you all the time. I mean, they see you at different events, I'm sure, and publications and different things in convention, but they don't have a chance to see the day-to-day.
Right.
And so some of those people, maybe it's someone within Exchange who's maybe not a leader, who doesn't, or in a leadership position, someone who doesn't have the opportunity to converse with you and Tracy and Liv and whoever else, as often as maybe they'd like to. But I think when you do these other projects, and it does come through to show, hey, look, we are genuine. This is who we are. Believe it or not. Yes. This is us. I think that's a very, very important
Take it or leave it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, hopefully they don't leave it, but
hopefully not.
Hopefully not. But no, at least you're genuine and you are who you are, and I think that's extremely important for any organization. I don't care what it is. That's just, and that's, I think, going back to technology, I think that's very, very important in whatever you're doing in today's world. Because you can't get away with it like you did in this, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, where you can just put out a blanket statement and it's relatively boring, and that's what people sort of expect.
Right.
Today, and that's, again, goes back to the importance of being engaging with technology, using technology to your advantage. You have to do that to stay relevant. Because if you're not, you're just going to lose them, because other organizations are doing that. Yeah. Most organizations, not all, most organizations have figured that out. Like, okay, we need to do something, interesting. We need to do something impactful.
Yeah. So. I mean, I highly recommend that our clubs, if you think that you can make some improvements, or if you just want to enhance what you already have going on your page, go out and look at some of the other clubs' pages. Definitely. And really go look at the Rotary pages, the Kiwanis pages. Tracy says it all the time. They're not competition. We're all here to make our communities better. Right. There's a service organization to fit nearly everyone. So let's just work together. We look at a lot of, Rotary, Kiwanis, Seraptimus, a lot of their publications and whatnot to see what their members are interested in.
Yeah, you should. No,
we should.
Yeah, you should. No, and that's, again, because they may do something that you hadn't even thought about. Right. And I almost guarantee they're looking at the National Exchange Club.
Yeah, that is one of Tracy's points of pride. We always get, in the industry, we all trade magazines, distribute to each other. We always tend to have the topics first.
Nice.
I know.
I like it.
I know. Yeah. A minor sense of pride, but
but
that means we have our finger on the pulse, or we try to have our finger on the pulse of what's going on in the country with our members. So hopefully, that shows. But as you said, it does. But, so when we talk about short videos on Facebook, or if someone wants to do their own podcast, or you and I were even talking earlier about pulling some simple videos together with some publishing tools, how quickly can someone learn to enhance what they're already doing?
Yeah, so if you are looking to do something, on your own, there are certain tools out there, of course, that you can use. And for most of the things that you're going to produce, if it's a quick video of an event or something like that, yes, you can do all of those things yourself. Those are relatively easy. There's a lot of free tools out there. Even for doing certain recordings, maybe it won't be very polished, but if you just want to put something out there, you can do that as well. But on the video side in particular, there are a lot of great tools that you can use to do that. There are some companies that use iPhones as, a video camera, which you can do. I mean, we've all seen those Apple commercials, but those are, that really is true. You can't use it for everything, but you can certainly use it as a very useful tool for certain types of video. And for most of what people are going to put out, again, it's not going to be, studio level quality, but it doesn't have to be.
It doesn't have to be.
It does not have to be. If you're looking to put something on, like you said, a social media page, well, that's just fine. Take a video with your phone. And if you want it to look a little bit more professional, yes, use those free tools.
Right.
They are everywhere. And they're a little bit of a learning curve, but they're really not that difficult to use.
Nothing a quick Google search can't help you resolve, right?
Exactly. No, that's exactly right. Yes.
Yeah. And, Brad, it was just 4, 5, 6 years ago that we were telling people, members, that we needed photos off of a camera to publish on social media or an exchange today. But really, that's even changed.
It has.
Yeah. I mean, we accept photos from pretty much every phone out there these days.
Yeah. Yeah. Most of the new phones are amazing at basic photos. I mean, there are some that are better than others, of course, but generally speaking, yeah, they're all pretty good.
Yeah.
They really are.
I mean, unless you're my dad and you've gone back to a flip phone. If you have a flip phone.
Probably shouldn't use that.
That won't work.
Right. Yeah, the old flip phones are probably not the best idea.
So that is really kind of a change of course. And I know Tracy's mentioned a lot over the last couple months that clubs have talked about picking up professional photographers.
Sure.
Which is certainly their choice. But at this stage in the game, I don't feel like that's a necessary cost for the way that the pictures are being used. Now, if you're putting together a brochure that you're planning on spending a lot of money and time on, then I would certainly go out and get some professional photos.
For sure.
But this day and age, and honestly, most people prefer the candid pictures.
They do. They really do. 100%.
And it goes back to what we were just talking about, the emotion.
Yes.
The trueness of yourself.
Yes. And I will say too, speaking of that emotion and producing something, memorable like that, if you do have to go out and you do want to hire a professional, whether, like you said, maybe it's a photographer, maybe it's a videographer, maybe you want to do, your own show for whatever, whatever you're producing, definitely look at your local professionals because they are going to be typically a lot cheaper than a company who's got 30 people working for them who have a lot of overhead and a lot of expenses.
Sure.
Find a good local photographer, a good local videographer. If you want to develop an app, I would definitely say find somebody local or even regional to develop that, whatever it is you're working on, because you want to meet with those people. You want to try to meet with them face to face. I hear from a lot of people, just using mobile apps as an example, they say, oh yeah, we had somebody in California and it takes 2 weeks for them to return my phone call, and so we didn't want them as to develop our app, and they're usually 5 times what we would charge.
Right.
But the point is, you want to work with somebody who can see your vision, who can see your mission and understand what it is. And if they're not getting excited about your project, then it's going to show through in the project and in the final the final piece.
Excellent point.
Yeah, you definitely want to make sure that they share your excitement, because I've seen that before.
And our members should inherently know the networking possibilities attached to that, right?
Yeah,
so you meet the videographer, and then you meet his staff, and then you meet his wife, and then you meet his son-in-law, and
and maybe they'll become exchange members.
And one of his old co-workers, and it's a whole network within a community.
It is.
People in your profession, or like the photography and that sort of thing, you really are out working with the public all the time, and it's a huge network in our community. It has to be in every community.
Yes.
So if they can tap into something like that.
And everybody usually knows a photographer, everybody, sometimes they know a videographer, but whatever it is you're working on, like I said, try to keep it as local as you possibly can. Doesn't always work in every market, but at least try to keep it regional. Because again, most importantly, in my opinion, they're going to share your excitement typically just as much as you do.
Absolutely.
You don't want to hire somebody who doesn't know your organization, who's not from the area, who just can't relate or just doesn't care.
Right. Exactly. Who doesn't care? Who's just going to put stuff on,
put
video and put it out there.
Put it out there. You don't want that. You want them to feel the emotion. You want them to be part of that excitement that you share. Because if they're not, believe me, it will show in the final product.
Excellent words to live by, Brad. Any other great words of advice?
No, I mean, again, like I said before, I say this all the time, just have fun with whatever you're doing. If it's not enjoyable, it's probably not going to be as impactful as it could be.
That's right.
So try to have fun with it. Not everything has to be crazy fun, but at least try to have some fun. Try to make it enjoyable, because what's the point if you're not doing that?
Exactly. Boy, Brad, we have a lot of philosophies we share.
We have
One day we'll have to do a podcast about our parenting advice.
Oh, yeah. I'm not so sure they want to hear about that.
Yeah. They want to hear about our teenagers?
No, they might. Actually, that could be, that could be outtakes in and of itself right there. Yes. You wouldn't believe what my kid did today.
Oh, boy.
Yes.
Yep. Yes. Well, thank you so much, Brad. I appreciate it. And hopefully we can bring you back on in front of the mic here soon.
Sure. It's always fun to talk, and it's always fun to be part of the show. So
great.
I would love that.
Great. And to all of you out there in Exchange Land, thank you very much.
Thanks. See you next week.